This has been a long time coming. After reviewing all of the Saw films from 1 to Jigsaw, it's time to review Spiral from the Book of Saw, released in 2021. A full 4 years after Jigsaw, and coincidentally, 4 years since I reviewed the 8th film in the franchise. I saw Spiral at the cinema and called it not a proper Saw film in my quick review. To be fair, I haven't seen it since, and perhaps time, and a more critical eye, will change my mind. Here's my review of Spiral from the Book of Saw. A well-dressed man at a carnival chases down a purse snatcher into the sewer. He's captured by a pig mask wearer and tied to the underground tracks by his tongue. If he jumps off, his tongue will be ripped out, but he will survive. He does not. The victim is Detective Boswick, and his crime scene is investigated by Detective Zeke Banks and his new partner, William Shank. Back at the police station, Detective Banks is delivered a thumb drive with a video similar to that of John Kramer, but clearly distinct, this time using a pig puppet to deliver the message. The video takes them to the courthouse where Detective Boswick is identified using his tongue and badge. Despite Zeke being the lead in the case, Detective Fitch, who hates Zeke, finds a clue in the Jigsaw case. He enters an abandoned factory and is jumped by a pig mask wearer. The trap involves Fitch having to lose his fingers or be electrocuted. He too doesn't pass the test, although he does come close. Zeke then finds that his dad Marcus is missing, a retired hero cop and former captain of the precinct. Marcus has sent messages to Zeke and the new Captain Garza that he's looking to lead himself. Banks and Shank find a link between the deaths and the precinct, detectives with questionable histories who are the ones turning up dead. To that end, Zeke and William meet up with former cop Pete, who Zeke once reported for killing an innocent man. This incident caused the rest of the precinct to distrust him and call him a rat. William then goes missing and another parcel arrives for Zeke, containing a piece of skin with William's tattoo. His body shows up at a butcher's shop beyond recognition. After responding to an officer down call, which turns out to be a street cop with a minor wound, Zeke rushes back to the precinct after realizing that Captain Garza is the next victim. Zeke finds her suffocated and burned by wax on her face. Pete's login is then used in the precinct, so Zeke goes to find him, but gets ambushed himself. He wakes up chained to a pipe, and after freeing himself, he finds Pete strung up. He tries to rescue him from a trap involving flying broken glass, but fails. Zeke continues through the factory and finds the true culprit, William Shank. The body they found was a homeless man, and Shank explains his motive. The man Pete killed was William's dad, and by reporting him, Shank sees Zeke as the only good cop in the precinct. He offers Zeke the chance to join him to get rid of all the dirty cops. Zeke agrees if Marcus, who's also been captured by Shank, is let free. Shank though shows that Marcus is wired up in a trap of his own. Zeke has to choose between killing Shank or rescuing his dad. Zeke fails by trying to do both, and Marcus is killed by an incoming SWAT team when he's strung up like a puppet with a shotgun in his hand, whilst William Shank escapes. I like a lot of what Spiral does, and I think my second viewing was better than the first one. That's not to say that this is the best of the bunch, but I prefer this one to Jigsaw in all honesty. A big factor in this is the fact that Chris Rock is a great lead. I've not seen him do a serious role like this one, and not only does he succeed, he thrives. He plays a real downtrodden cop who is sick of the way his colleagues treat him, but he still sticks to it given his family history and the fact that he, at his core, wants to do the right thing. I haven't really spoken about the actors in previous Saw reviews because nothing has really stood out, so take my endorsement of Chris Rock as a real standout. The other big name, Samuel L. Jackson, feels like he's just shoehorned in for star appeal though. Not his strongest performance in my opinion. There is some decent character work here though. I like Garza's character as a captain who's trying really hard to keep things calm, but struggling with all the egos around her. She wants to do the right thing but believes that she needs to look the other way at times to keep the peace, hence her being targeted by Shank. Speaking of Shank, his motivation makes total sense and the twist ending, although you could see it coming, is quite clever. This is the second film in a row though that has a victim, unrecognisable when they apparently die, become the villain. But to that end, it feels like Jigsaw is completely ignored. There's no follow up to it, no mention of it, and I think that works to the film's benefit. Spiral tries to forge its own identity but doesn't quite get the fine balance right between becoming its own thing and living off of the Saw franchise. It's about as good as an attempt as you can get, quite frankly, because without the Saw name, people would mark it down as a Saw ripoff. The time between films has helped with some of the inventiveness of the traps. The traps are simplified and, once again, fair. They feel like John Kramer came up with them, and that is credit to Shank, although I don't believe any link to John was ever made. The train trap is simple but effective, the finger trap works well, and the glass trap reminds me of a couple from Saw 3. The one that gets me the most though is the wax trap. In this, Garza has to sever her own spinal cord to free herself and stop boiling wax landing on her face. It's Jigsaw killer-esque but also unique, something not seen before and yet really gruesome without excessive blood. I do wonder if Garza would have survived severing her own spinal cord, thus defeating the object of the trap though. The whole feel of the film is hot. There's a heat wave in the city and you can see it throughout. Certain films' atmospheres translate onto the viewer. My go-to is The Day After Tomorrow, which always makes me feel cold. But to compare Spiral to a similar feeling film, Predator 2 is probably the one I compare it to. You can almost feel the heat wave in the film, and it's the same here. It adds depth to the immersion. So how does Spiral rate overall? I'd say fairly high, honestly. And I can recommend it to people who haven't seen the originals as a standalone, maybe an introduction to the whole Saw franchise. I think I was initially a little harsh on Spiral the first time round because the twist ending didn't really give the impact of the originals, but in further analysis I think that Spiral is clever, deeper than it looks, and although not perfect or even the best of the series, I will watch this again at some point. Give Spiral a turn, especially if you felt Jigsaw was missing a piece. So until a new film comes out in the franchise, that's me up to date once again. If you'd like to see more, why not check out my other reviews of the Saw films and subscribe for more content. For now though, thank you very much for watching.